welcome to the Ill Noise Business Playbook. I am here with Nathan Looman of Fox Valley Bayern. Nathan, how you doing today, sir?
Good. How are you, Joe?
I'm doing great. Really want to hear why you're on here and want to kind of spread the word on what's going on. But I would always like to ask, since we're doing this on a Monday and we just came off a weekend, which was kind of nice. Nice weather out there. Did you do anything fun and exciting over the weekend?
Busy weekend of sports. So we had 5 soccer games over the weekend between the 2 kids. We had a good weekend, 3 wins, 1 loss, 1 tie. So I'll take that. You know, my kids are 13 and 11 that play soccer, and I have a 5-year-old, so that keeps us pretty busy in our household.
I'll bet. Well, once again, I certainly appreciate you coming on the show and really want to spread the word about why you're here. So if you can, what got you into coaching? What got you into being a part of Fox Valley Bayern? Like what inspires you to do what you're doing?
So I started coaching my son when he was 3, just rec league soccer. And then, just kind of, when they're 3 to 6 years old, they're doing everything, t-ball, basketball, soccer. And I'm always the one that can't say no. So they're like, hey, we need a coach. And I'm like, I'll figure it out. And then my daughter, same thing, soccer. So we had all the rec league teams and, one team after another, starting little and all the way up. And my son and daughter, probably about 2 years ago, got into club soccer.
Okay.
So that was a little bit of a challenge for me, going from rec coaching to club coaching. But we found Fox Valley Bayern out of Dundee area, and it's been a great experience. I'm coaching the youth and boys this year, and then 2 of the girls teams, the U11 and U12 girls. And yeah, that's kind of just how it happened. Just always the one volunteering, and my 5-year-old has tried soccer on and off. She likes horseback riding, so not getting into that. I'll just stick with what I got right now. But no, it's just been good, man. Just trying to build youth programs. I love youth sports and getting involved with youth, and especially getting girls and women's sports. Trying to build that up in the community. So just doing what we can, and I really appreciate you having us on to kind of get the word out about our club.
Absolutely. You're mentioning soccer quite a bit. Do you have a soccer background yourself, Nathan?
I do not.
No.
In high school, I like bowling and fishing, and
Okay.
I business and making money, honestly. So I'm a good coach. I love coaching kids and having fun with kids, but no, I'm learning as I go. We've got a lot of other coaches that have a lot more experience than me that I learn from and get help from. So I'm learning as I go, but we're having a lot of fun on the way.
That's awesome. I myself, I've also got a background where I was in the not-for-profit sector for a little while there, and I worked with DCFS kids, and I created a therapeutic recreational program for the kids to really teach them about playing sports and all the wonderful aspects of that with teamwork and really working together for a collective goal. And so we're with the Ill Noise here, we're big
It's
believers
awesome.
in youth sports in general and sports in general, quite frankly, as we can see with
As we can see.
pictures of my background there. I will also say that I can remember some experiences as a young individual, not with the coaches per se, but kind of with the parents per se. So, and I see that smile as not really hiding the fact that you might kind of empathize with where I'm going with that, Nathan. But what sort of challenges have you found as far as being a coach of kids at this stage of their athletic growth?
So, obviously, in the 11 to 13-year-old age range where we're in right now, lots of different challenges. Year old boys, it's like herding cats, trying to keep them all interested and together and doing stuff. My girls, it's definitely a different practice. They listen and focus. And, I tell everyone, like, coaching is great. I think I'm lucky that I have really great parents, but parents are one of the challenges. Everybody wants their kid to be the best and, has their own ideas. So, one of the focuses that I at least try for is to get, the players listening to the coach, listening to each other, not coaching from the sidelines on the parent side. I think it's really important for them to find their voice. When they're 6 to 10 years old running around, they're having to listen to that voice. But the older they get, once they get into middle school and into high school, like, that's when you really have to start listening to the coaches, find that respect, really start to trust your team, listen to your team. So, I think that that's a big part of what we do on the growth side. We do a lot of things, like my girls team, we do a lot of team building activities. Last summer, we went and saw the Chicago Red Stars, the pro women's team. We went and watched them play. The girls actually got to go on the field with them. And next week we're going to tomorrow we're going to Dundee Crown versus Algonquin soccer game, the high school game. So some of our Byron girls play for that team. So it's really fun to do those kind of opportunities because now the players are kind of seeing like what's next. Not every kid's going to go pro. Not every kid wants to play in college. Some kids are fine with just rec once a week. Not everybody wants the 2 times a week and, tournaments and all that. So I think you just kind of have to find the fit, figure out what level of commitment you want. But, it's all about growth. I tell the kids, we're going to constantly improve. We're going to lose games. We just have to work on those little improvements and just keep improving. And, just the teams we have, they've improved night and day just coming into the spring, even from last fall season. So, I think it's just setting parents' expectations, allowing the parents to let the coach kind of direct the team. And, the biggest thing is training at home too. Any sport you do, if you're going to be committed to it, you have to do the stuff at home. You have to get ball touches at home. You have to practice at home, outside with mom and dad or brother and sister out in the yard, passing a ball, throwing a ball. I mean, you play sports, you know how it is. The more touches and the more you do, and the better you're going to get. Practicing once a week or twice a week is not what's going to make you better. It's learning those skills and then using those skills the rest of the week.
Yeah, I can imagine. I hope you don't have to deal with the same thing my father had to replace a lot of garage doors because of all the balls I was whipping against it, practicing and stuff.
We got a park across the street, so
nice.
Soccer balls go over to the park. But yeah, there's some dents around the house.
Yes, I bet there is.
Missed shots.
Yes, well, yes. And as we continue to grow, hopefully we get a little bit more accurate.
Yeah.
This is a great format here for you to get the word out about what you're doing about the soccer program that you got. But what are other ways that you guys try to, put in place to really kind of get the word out and to get people to join? Because, let's be honest, soccer is known in a certain way in this country. I think it's really improving. Quite frankly, I've seen a dramatic improvement in the last 30 years or so. But how do you kind of distinguish yourselves from other sports, and how do you actually get the word out to get more kids to be involved in these programs?
So definitely at the younger ages, kids are trying a lot of different sports. So there's definitely a lot more exposure as you move up. You do kind of start picking those paths. We have several multi-sport athletes, but once you start getting a lot of games and multiple practices and multiple kids, it is hard to start to navigate those. I think that you can find a club or organization that can kind of work with you on that and understands that the kids being athletic, even playing basketball or cross country and soccer, there are ways to do both.
Absolutely.
As far as our club goes, we cover everywhere from, Hampshire over to Streamwood, up to Algonquin, down to Elgin. So we do have a large area that we cover. We cover a lot of the District 3, District 46 are kind of our areas where we pull from. We have a great partnership with District 300, and then also we do a lot with the Dundee Park District. That's where our home fields are. We also work with the Boys and Girls Club in that area. So we do get a lot of players with them. They have their own program, but we kind of have fed up players from them. And so we have a lot of great partnerships. Rick Schuster, who started the club, he's really involved in the community, goes and sees these different games, goes and meets people and gets the word out. When he started the club back in 2008, he wanted like an old school soccer club. He's got German roots. That's where, the Bayern comes from, kind of a nod to, Bayern Munich, Germany out there. So, his big focus was trying to make it affordable. A lot of clubs out there, $2,000-$3,000 for the year. Ours is well under $1,000 for, the whole season. So, we definitely try to be affordable. We have scholarship programs. Our big focus is trying to get kids involved and finding ways to do that. And, we want to see the talent, not focus on the money aspect. We definitely want to find the talent, and grow the players. We have different levels. We have everything from the lower levels up to, we have teams playing in the Premiership, in the Illinois President's Cup. So, we do have every level, even though, we're a small club of about 20 different teams.
Okay. Can you think back? You've been coaching for a little while here, and can you think back to, and I don't want to hear names because that's always very unique here, Nathan. But can you think back to a kid? Can you think back to a coach? Can you think back to an experience that you've had while you've been coaching? That is something you're extremely proud of. I'm sure every day you're going in there and you're helping your own kids out, you're helping other
Oh,
kids
yeah.
out. Of course, you're teaching them all these amazing ways of sportsmanship and working together for a collective goal, like I'd mentioned. And again, those are transferable skills throughout our adulthood too, right? But tell me about experience, something that really kind of makes you feel all warm and fuzzy, really kind of makes you go like, I'm doing the right thing and I really enjoy this.
Well, I think one of the neat things is, I've coached several hundred kids. When you're at the lower levels, and the anywhere from 4 to 8 year olds in the rec level, you're coaching random groups of kids. So you get your fall team. Spring, you get another group of 8 to 10 kids. And then, with all the different sports, you're just constantly meeting all these families and kids. As they start to get older, that's when the funnel starts to narrow a little bit, and you're starting to see kind of the same names and faces. But I think what's been most unique for me, or the most exciting thing, is, we had some kids come try out last spring for our teams this year. And it was kids I actually coached back when they were 8. I didn't remember the names. The parents actually came up to me and they're like, "Hey, did you remember that you coached him back when he was 8 or 9? He was excited to see your name." I mean, obviously, my biggest achievement is my children. That's why I do this, to push their love of the game, and push them forward. But they've made great friends over the years. Any family that's in sports, you have like your circle of friends, but then you have your sports friends. So that family you're with 8 times, eight weekends in the spring, you get to know each other. They're the ones you're barbecuing with. So I think that's what's fun. Even during COVID, I was coaching a team of 20, 30 kids, because they had rules on how you couldn't play other teams, but you could scrimmage. So we found ways that we could keep the kids involved, even when there was different rules in place. You kind of just see, the will these kids have. Like, they want to play, they find a way. And I think that's what's most exciting. We've seen some of my players go from not wanting to play to my best players. And honestly, when, I ask them what they do, and they're working at home, they're watching YouTube videos, something sparked them. And I think that's what's the most exciting thing, is seeing that spark and seeing their energy and their excitement. Not everybody's going to continue, but when you do see those, or you see that kid that you coached even playing against you, it's a cool feeling knowing that, you were a part of that growth at some point.
Well, Nathan, how do people get a hold of you? How do people get a hold of the whole program to see if they can get going and be a part of this whole party?
So the best way to find us is foxvalleybyron.com, our website, or our Facebook is Fox Valley Bayern. We do have tryouts coming up next week.
Okay.
But we're always looking for new players. So, there's definitely ways to sign up for that, or just come out to practice. We've had some people move to town. Generally, club tryouts are in the spring for the spring season following. But, you move to town, you're trying to find a club, reach out. We always have opportunities for people to play. Just because you can't make a tryout in spring doesn't mean you can't play in fall. So the reason the clubs do the tryouts in the spring is to kind of figure out coaching and teams moving forward. But there's always opportunities, and even if it's not our club, any youth sports is great. We're in an area where there's a lot of really good rec programs. All our park districts are really solid. So any of those programs are great opportunities. But if you are looking for kind of move to that next level with the more training and the tournament style, we do have a lot of great clubs in the area. I would like to think we're one of the ones you would check out, but I think the biggest thing is just meeting the coaches, finding people that are, like your style, your same beliefs, and that your child really connects with. I think that's what's most important. You don't have to you don't have to get them on the best team. You have to find where they fit the best. And I think that gets lost sometimes. So really meeting those coaches, checking out different clubs, meeting the other players, and just seeing who's a good fit. I tell the players, if you're not going to come and enjoy it, don't do it.
Absolutely.
There's a big difference from the kids that are forced to be there and the kids that want to be there. So
beautiful. Well, Nathan, I really appreciate you sitting down with us, and certainly hope that this helps get more kids involved, more parents involved, and their kids grow. So thank you so very much for your time today, Nathan. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe. I really appreciate you guys having us on.
You got it.